Within the Mario franchise, there's tons of different sub-series. Whether it's RPGs, sports games, whatever this is, Mario has done so many things in his 40 plus year career. I wanted to go through all these series and rank them from my least favorite to favorite. So here's the deal. I'm only including series that have a clear identity with multiple entries. Think Mario Kart, Paper Mario, the Mario Galaxy games, New Super Mario Bros, etc. Remasters, ports, and compilation discs don't count as their own series. Crossovers and spin-offs do count if they're established lines like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Mario adjacent brands where Mario isn't the headliner like Yoshi, WarioWare, Luigi's Mansion, Donkey Kong are not going to be part of this ranking. Most importantly, this list is 100% based on my personal enjoyment, not Metacritic averages, not sales charts, not historical influence. I'm weighing my experience with these games with how great I think these series are and how much I want to boot up these today. Your list will probably be different, and that's alright. Let me know your ranking in the comments. Number 20, Mario Educational Series, which is something you probably were not expecting on here, but I mean, it's technically a Mario series. These were mostly a product of the early 90s when every major franchise seemed to get shoehorned into teaching kids math, typing, or geography. You've probably heard of Mario Teaches Typing, Mario's Missing, Mario's Time Machine. These were not made by Nintendo themselves, they were usually outsourced to Western developers, and it shows. The problems with these games is incredibly obvious. They're just not fun games. Mario Teaches Typing might have been useful in 1992, but today it's more of a meme than an actual game. Mario is Missing tried to turn Luigi into a globe-trotting detective teaching geography, but instead of kicking Koopas, you're reading dry text boxes about Italy's Leaning Tower of Pisa. Riveting stuff, I know. As a big history buff, I do appreciate what they were trying to do. I think a Mario game that takes historical influence could be interesting, but not in this way. Like, I don't totally hate these games' existence because it's kind of funny to look back on. And there's also kind of like a weird nostalgic charm to seeing Mario in a classroom setting, even though these games came out like a decade before I was born. But in terms of actual gaming history, these are bottom tier games. They didn't influence the franchise, they didn't sell well, and Nintendo has rightfully buried them. If your fondest Mario memory is learning fractions with Luigi, then I truly feel bad for you. Number 19, the Game & Watch Mario games. Before Mario was the household name he is today, he showed up on Nintendo's Game & Watch handhelds in the early 80s. These were simple LCD games, basically the grandfathers of handheld gaming. Mario popped up in titles like Mario Cement Factory, Mario Bros, not to be confused with Super Mario Bros, and even in the classic Game & Watch Donkey Kong. Now, as important as these are historically, I just really can't rank them higher. They're charming little novelties, but let's be honest, Game & Watch games are extremely basic. You're just catching objects, pressing left and right, and just trying not to mess up. Compared to what Mario would go on to become, these are more just like tech demos than an actual series you'd go back to and play. That said, I do respect these games for kind of laying the groundwork for handheld gaming. Without them, maybe Nintendo wouldn't have realized how much kids love playing with a portable Mario, and hey, they got a revival with the Game & Watch collection. But fun factor, I mean, it's pretty low. I can't imagine anyone in 2025 is booting up Mario Cement Factory for a fun Friday night. Unless you're really into cement, in which case good for you. Number 18, Super Mario Land. Now here's a weird one. Super Mario Land was Mario's big debut on the Game Boy, and it's kind of like a Bizarro World version of Mario. It plays like the NES Super Mario Bros., but it was developed by Gunpei Yokoi's team instead of Miyamoto's, both legendary game developers. But what it does is it gives you a very different feel. Instead of the Mushroom Kingdom, you're in Sarasaland. Instead of Bowser, you're fighting Tatanga the alien. And instead of saving Peach, you're saving Princess Daisy, who would go on to become a recurring character in the sports and party spin-offs. Now, Super Mario Land deserves credit for bringing Mario to handhelds. The fact that Nintendo crammed a Mario platformer into this gray brick in 1989 was revolutionary. And honestly, I love the weirdness of these games. There's levels where Mario pilots a submarine and an airplane, and the music is iconic in its own right, but the physics are stiff, the game is short, and it's really rough compared to its console counterparts. The sequel, Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins, is a massive improvement, and also introduced Wario, which alone makes it historically significant. Then there is Super Mario Land 3, but I'm not really counting that since that's more of a Wario game. Now, unlike the previous series where I don't think there's really much reason to go back to them, I think there is reason to go back to these games if you're a big Mario fan. They are still decent platformers, but I just really couldn't find anywhere higher to put them on the list. Number 17, Dr. Mario. I just like puzzle games like this, and I think there's more reason to go back to this. This was Mario's attempt to compete with Tetris, and Dr. Mario first dropped in 1990 on the NES and Game Boy. The premise is simple. Stack colored pills to line up and eliminate viruses. It's a solid puzzle game, catchy music, easy to pick up, and tough to master. The Fever and Chill themes are just classic Mario songs. But here's the thing. As much as I like Dr. Mario, it never reached the same cultural or competitive heights as Tetris or Puyo Puyo. Nintendo kept bringing it back on nearly every console. Dr. Mario 64, Dr. Mario Online RX on WiiWare, Dr. Mario World on mobile, but it's always felt like a nice to have rather than a must play. It's the type of game you enjoy for 20 minutes, then move on. I will say, I've always found it hilarious that Mario just casually became a doctor without going through med school. Like, one day he's a plumber, the next he's writing prescriptions, the next day he's in Smash, like, only in video games. But all jokes aside, while Dr. Mario is fun and iconic in its own way, it just doesn't hold up as a series compared to the heavy hitters. It's good puzzle filler, but not essential to Mario gaming. Number 16, Mario Golf. On paper, this shouldn't work. Who asked for Mario to swing a 9-iron? But ever since Camelot developed the N64 original, this has been quietly one of the most consistent sports spin-offs Mario's had. The N64 version was surprisingly deep, with real golf mechanics hidden under the cartoon visuals. Then the GameCube's Toadstool Tour added more personality, while the handheld entries on the Game Boy Color and GBA had fantastic RPG-style modes that people still rave about. Now, the series has had its ups and downs. I know not everyone loved the 3DS version, or even Mario Golf Super Rush on the Switch. The motion controls and speed golf gimmick were neat, but the overall package kinda lacked some of the charm and content people expected. However, mechanically, this game still is really good. But still, with Mario Golf, it strikes the perfect balance between arcade fun, while also having some golf sim mechanics, even if it's not PGA. For me personally, Mario Golf sits in that sweet spot of pick up and play. It's not the Mario series I obsess over, but it's one that I'll happily revisit for a chill afternoon or something. I actually do like golf more than some of the sports that are going to come after this, but I just think that as a game, I enjoyed the other ones more. Number 15, Mario Tennis. Now, unlike golf, I do not play tennis. I won a pickleball championship once, but that isn't exactly tennis. But why do I like Mario Tennis more? Well, first let's just talk about the background of the series. Mario Tennis goes all the way back to the Virtual Boy that is coming back in 2026. But the real notable first entry was on the Nintendo 64 when Waluigi was introduced. Since then, the series has bounced around Nintendo consoles with varying degrees of success. The highs are very high. Mario Power Tennis on GameCube is a classic with its wacky power shots and polished gameplay. I actually played the Wii version of this, but it's basically just a port of that. The handheld titles, like with Golf, added some RPG elements that fans still miss today. On the flip side, Ultra Smash on Wii U might be one of the most bare-bones sports games Nintendo has ever released. Like, who would buy this game the day it came out also? It felt more like a demo than a full product, but thankfully Mario Tennis Aces on Switch rebounded, adding story mode and fun mechanics like zone shots and racket breaking. For me, Mario Tennis edges out Golf because it's just more energetic and competitive. It can be an absolute blast in multiplayer, and it feels more Mario with its craziness. At its best, it's one of the most enjoyable couch multiplayer experiences out there, but at its worst, well, it's this. But overall, it's a strong series, but I think I just prefer the top 13 over it. Number 14, Mario vs. Donkey Kong. This one hurts a little, because I actually think Mario vs. Donkey Kong is underrated. It started as a spiritual successor to the original Donkey Kong, which itself was obviously one of the most innovative games of all time. The first Mario vs. Donkey Kong on GBA mixed platforming with puzzles, and it was pretty great. I used to play this game all the time. But then the series shifted focus towards the mini Mario wind-up toy versions of Mario you had to guide through trap-filled levels. Those puzzle games, especially March of the Minis, are clever, but they kind of lost a lot of the charm of controlling Mario himself. The series ended up with a bunch of DS and 3DS entries, and even one on the Switch and 3DS where you created your own levels and shared them. And while they're solid puzzle titles, they never felt essential. They were kind of games you play for a few hours and then kind of forget about it. That said, I do give credit to Mario vs. Donkey Kong for keeping the Mario vs. Donkey rivalry alive in a unique way. And we also did get a return for Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Switch, and I kind of feel like that's one of the reasons I have Mario vs. Donkey Kong this high. And in no way am I saying that the mini Mario games are bad, I still enjoy them, but it kind of just felt samey after a while. Number 13, Mario plus Rabbids. When Ubisoft and Nintendo announced a tactical crossover with the Rabbids, most of us did a double take. Then Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle launched on the Switch and turned skeptics into believers with smart XCOM style battles, charming character abilities, and a soundtrack that swung from playful to epic. It was tactical and approachable. It gave Peach, Luigi, and even Rabbid versions of the crew distinct combat roles that actually mattered. The follow-up, Sparks of Hope, loosened the grid with freeform movement, deeper team synergies, and a more adventurous structure. It traded some of the first game's tight puzzle combat for flexibility and build crafting mixing sparks, with weapon types and hero perks to create surprisingly good strategy. What I appreciate most is that the series found a totally new lane for Mario without feeling like a gimmick. It's funny, and it's genuinely strategic. It respects your time with bite-sized encounters and big boss set pieces. It's not as endlessly replayable as some of the other Mario RPGs in my opinion, but as a tactic spin-off, it punches way above expectations. And personally, I'm not really a fan of tactical RPGs that much, so that's why it's not that high on this list, but for what it is, I really do appreciate it. Also, for some reason, these games are just super cheap now. Like, most Nintendo games retain their value, but if you look at these games pretty much anywhere, like, you can find these for $5 to $10. So for that price, if you haven't picked these up yet, I highly recommend it. Number 12, Mario Strikers. Mario Strikers is the most intense, edgy, and downright un-Nintendo Mario series ever made. The original on GameCube, it took soccer and cranked it up to 11 with brutal tackles, fiery special shots, and character art that made Mario look like he belonged on the cover of a metal album. Then you also had celebrations like Waluigi doing this. It was shocking in the best way. The Wii sequel, Charge, which was what I mostly played growing up, doubled down on that chaotic energy, adding online play and even more exaggerated moves. Fans loved how stylish this was. Fans loved the vibe of this game. It was fast, aggressive, and it kind of felt out of place in the Mario series. And then after a decade plus of no new games, we got the announcement of Battle League on Switch, and I and many other people were very hyped for this, but the game kind of dropped the ball. The gameplay was solid, but the lack of modes and content made it feel hollow compared to its predecessors. I still have a soft spot for the series because I did grow up with it. The art style, the music, the attitude, it all just felt so different from the usual bright and happy Mario spin-offs. Strikers hasn't lived up to its full potential lately, but when it's firing on all cylinders, it's a sports series unlike anything else Mario has done. I truly hope we get a new Mario Strikers game on the Switch 2 that greatly improves upon what Mario Strikers Battle League did. Number 11, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. The series is kind of surreal when you think about it. Back in the 90s, Mario and Sonic were bitter rivals, the mascots that defined the console wars. Then in 2007, Nintendo and Sega joined forces to release Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games on the Wii and DS. Seeing these two icons on the same screen was mind-blowing at the time. The games themselves are a mixed bag. They're essentially minigame collections themed around Olympic sports. Some events like track and swimming are simple button mashers, while others like fencing or table tennis are surprisingly deep. The novelty of seeing Mario, Sonic, and their friends compete in real-world sports carried the series for a long time, even if the gameplay wasn't always groundbreaking. Over the years, the series has stuck around through multiple Olympics, from Beijing 2008 to Tokyo 2020. It's not a must-play Mario series, but it's iconic for what it represents. Two legendary mascots finally sharing the spotlight. Personally, I just played this so much with friends growing up. Like, is it better than some of the series that came before it on this list? Probably not. But there's just so much variety in these games, and just something about it just brings me so much nostalgia and so much joy when I play this. That's the reason it's this high. Number 10, New Super Mario Bros. When the original New Super Mario Bros. Dropped on the DS in 2006, it was a massive deal. At that point, Mario hadn't had a true 2D side-scroller in over a decade. Seeing Mario back in a modernized 2D adventure with new power-ups like the Mega Mushroom was magical, and the game sold insanely well, something like over 30 million copies, and it basically revived 2D platformers for a new generation. I also have a very special place in my heart for this game and the Wii version. The DS version was one of the first video games I ever played, and the Wii version, I just have so many memories playing with family, playing with friends, and even New Super Mario Bros. U is a good game. New Super Mario Bros. 2, I've been pretty vocal about this. It's a game I think is just bland. Like, it's not a bad game, but it just feels like nothing new except the millions of coins that Nintendo added. What started as new quickly became just way too safe for the series. I feel like if it was just the first two games, or if the next games innovated more, this would be higher. But really, outside of the first two games, I really don't feel like going back to New Super Mario Bros. 2 or New Super Mario Bros. U. And also, I just want to say, I think these games are probably better than the next couple ones on this list, but I'll explain why they're higher. Number 9, Mario Baseball. So this one is complete bias. As I said in the beginning of the video, this is mostly based on just how much I enjoyed each series and how much I want to go back to each series. The Mario baseball games, especially Super Sluggers, is something I can go back to pretty much at any point. Baseball is my favorite sport. This is something I played against friends all the time growing up, and I'll still try and play it to this day. Just everything about this game, the music, the rosters, the stadiums. It's not the deepest game, and it's not even a big Mario series. Like, it barely is even a series since there's only 2 games, and the last one came out 18 years ago. But I just love this series so much, so that's why it's this high. Even if you don't like baseball, you still might like this game because it obviously is not like something like MLB The Show. You can just do so many crazy things in this game. And the only reason it's not higher is because it really is just one game for me. I didn't really play the GameCube version much. I also really enjoyed the story mode in this. Number 8, Super Mario Bros. At least the NES games. Now, I actually do like some of the new Super Mario Bros. Games better than some of these games, but I'll get to why this is higher. We can't talk about Mario without paying respect to the originals. Super Mario Bros. On the NES basically saved the video game industry in 1985. It wasn't the first video game platformer, but it was the one that showed everyone how it should be done. Tight controls, imaginative level design, hidden secrets, and a perfect difficulty curve. It became the blueprint for almost every platformer that came after. The sequels on NES are just as interesting. Super Mario Bros. 2, at least in the West, was a reskin version of Doki Doki Panic, which explains why it feels so different with its vegetable throwing and character selection. But despite that oddity, it added tons of personality to the Mario universe. Also gave us characters like the Shy Guys and Birdo. Then you've got Super Mario Bros. 3, which is still considered one of the greatest games of all time. That is the reason why it's so high. The first two games are important, but they're not some of my favorite Mario games. Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of my favorite 2D platformers just ever, and it carries it to number 7 on this list. And then also, I guess if you want to talk about Super Mario Bros. 2, the Japanese version, that game I'm not a fan of. It's just way too difficult for the controls, if that makes sense. In terms of importance, these are all the way at the top of the list. And I actually do feel like going back to the original Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 2 sometimes, even though they're not my favorite games. Number 7, Super Mario Maker. Now here's one of the most fascinating series. Super Mario Maker took the idea of 2D Mario platforming and handed the keys to the fans. Suddenly players could create, share, and play an infinite number of Mario levels. It was one of the most ambitious ideas Nintendo has ever executed, and it worked beautifully. The Wii U original gave a dying console a shot of life, and Mario Maker 2 on Switch refined it with more tools, themes, story mode, and of course slopes. The best thing about the series is its creativity. You want Kaizo-style death traps, they're there. You want relaxing auto-scroll music levels, they're there as well. You want some kid's terrible level where you just hold right and win. Plenty of those too. It turned Mario into a platform for community creativity, and in many ways it's the ultimate celebration of what makes Mario great. The only downside is that Nintendo never fully committed to supporting it long term. Mario Maker 2 hasn't seen updates in years, which is kind of baffling because of the potential. Still, as a concept and as a series, Mario Maker is one of the most brilliant things Nintendo has ever given us. It's not just a Mario game, but it's every Mario game all at once. Well, at least some of the 2D games. Now, there are things I like better about the original Mario games because you don't have unlimited tools in this to recreate those, but there's literally infinite things to do in this game. Beyond just playing, you can be as creative as you want. Number 6, Super Mario 3D series, which is 3D Land and 3D World. Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS was designed to bring 3D Mario to handhelds in a more bite-sized way. It combined the structure of 2D Mario with the depth of 3D. Then it worked really well. Even if it's not my favorite 3D Mario game, I still really do appreciate what it did. But then came Super Mario 3D World on Wii U, which expanded the concept into a full console game with 4-player co-op, new power-ups like the Super Bell, and some of the most polished level design Mario's ever seen. Also, the music is amazing, easily the third best in the Mario series after the Galaxy games. 3D World in particular has aged beautifully. It's colorful, creative, and packed with variety. The Switch re-release added Bowser's Fury, which was basically an experimental open-world Mario, and honestly, it kind of stole the show. I'm not really including it in this series, but I do feel like mentioning it. I actually didn't appreciate Mario 3D World as much when it first came out. I enjoyed it, but it obviously isn't on the same scale as the Mario Galaxy games, which were my favorites, or Mario 64 or Sunshine, but as I've replayed it, I've really started to appreciate what it's done. And I know some people might not even consider this to be really a series, because while they share a lot of similarities, they are very different games, but for the sake of this video, I'm just considering them a series. Number 5, Mario Party. Few series can turn lifelong friends into bitter rivals faster than Mario Party. Debuting on the N64 in '98, the series combined board game elements with frantic minigames, and it quickly became a staple of sleepovers and family gatherings. Of course, it also introduced the dreaded bonus stars, which could snatch victory from you at the last second. Nothing tests a friendship quite like losing because someone else randomly got a star for moving the least. Now, I never really played the early entries much, I never played the N64 or GameCube ones that much. First ones I started with were DS and Mario Party 8, which I played all the time. Even to this day, most people my age in their early 20s still prefer Mario Party 8 over every Mario Party. This is one of the games that brings me the most nostalgia. Mario Party DS as well. Then there was a dark age of the Mario Party series, starting with 9, where they just changed up the board where you're all in the same car. Mario Party Island Tour wasn't great. Mario Party 10 was a big disappointment. And the series has gotten better on the Switch, but I still think that Mario Party 8 is the best. This is a game that I would play if I was hanging out with friends in college. I'd play this at sleepovers when I was in middle school or high school. It's just one of those games that just everyone knows how to play. You know the different mini games if it's your favorite Mario Party. You know the boards. The only reason it's not higher on this is just because it's kind of harder to play as you get older, so it's not going to be the same. A lot of these series I can go back to now and have a lot of fun. This one you really need people around for it. And that doesn't diminish the quality at all. I still think Mario Party would still be 5 on this list. But this is one of those series that pretty much everyone you know has played. And honestly, if you want to have this top 3, I would completely understand. Number 4, Mario and Luigi. If you've never played a Mario & Luigi game, you're missing out on some of the funniest, most charming RPGs Nintendo has ever made. Starting with Superstar Saga on the GBA, which actually might be the first RPG I've ever played. The series blended RPG mechanics with action-based inputs, where timing your button presses mattered in battles. The writing was witty, the characters were expressive, and it gave Luigi more personality than he'd really ever had before, except Luigi's Mansion. The DS entries, Partners in Time, and Bowser's Inside Story expanded the formula brilliantly, even though I still do prefer Superstar Saga. In Partners in Time, you can control Baby Mario and Luigi. In Bowser's Inside Story, you can control Bowser. Even Dream Team I enjoyed. Paper Jam was really the only one in the series I thought was kind of a dud. It's not an awful game, but it's just kind of bland. And then recently, they brought the series back after 8 years with Brothership, which is still a solid game, but it's the original 4 games that really make this series for me. I've always loved the Mario RPGs, and some of these games are some of my favorites of all time. I think most people would probably have Mario Party higher than this, and that's completely fair. This is just my personal opinion. I just love the series and have so much appreciation for it that's why I have it at 4. Number 3, Mario Kart. If you ask the average person what their favorite Mario series is, odds are they'll say Mario Kart, and honestly, it's hard to argue. Ever since Super Mario Kart on the SNES, the series has been the ultimate couch multiplayer experience. It takes the basic fun of racing and adds items, chaos, and just the right amount of unfairness to keep everyone laughing or raging. Except for Mario Kart World, I think that makes people rage a little too much. Each entry has built on the formula. Mario Kart 64 made it 3D and gave us new characters. Double Dash on the GameCube introduced the 2-character mechanic that fans still beg Nintendo to bring back. Mario Kart DS, which was my first game in the series, brought online play and skill-based mechanics. And Mario Kart Wii, which is also a game I grew up playing. Love it or hate it, was one of the most popular multiplayer games of all time. And then you have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on Switch, which is basically the definitive version of Mario Kart. It has a massive track list if you include the DLC, slick controls, and many people still prefer this over Mario Kart World. It's just timeless fun, and it's one of the main reasons people buy Nintendo consoles. For me, Mario Kart is just pure joy. It's just chaotic, competitive, and endlessly replayable, at least for the most part. Like I've said, Mario Kart World I think has its issues, but I still do think it's a quality game. Number 2, Paper Mario. Paper Mario is one of those series that constantly reinvents itself, for better or for worse, and sometimes really for the worse. It started as a spiritual successor to Super Mario RPG, debuting on the N64 with a unique storybook art style and clever RPG mechanics. The turn-based combat with timed button presses felt fresh, and the game oozed charm. Its sequel, The Thousand Year Door on GameCube, is often hailed as one of the greatest RPGs of all time, thanks to its witty writing, memorable partners, darker, more ambitious story, locations, battles, and then my favorite game in the series, and one of my favorite games of all time, which is why Paper Mario is so high in here, Super Paper Mario. If you want to see me talk more about that, just watch either of my Super Paper Mario rankings to see why I love this game so much. And even with those 3 games, that's enough to get it to number 2 for me on this list. Sticker Star, I do not like. Color Splash is mid at best. Origami King is alright. Kind of just lost all the charm of the Paper Mario series for me. If we're averaging the games in the series, Paper Mario would definitely be lower because of this, but this series' highs are just some of the highest in the entire Mario franchise. It was honestly really hard for me to decide if I wanted to have Mario Kart or Paper Mario this high. If I ever remake this video, there's a chance it could switch, but for now I'm going to have it at number 2. And at number 1, the Super Mario Galaxy series. The pinnacle of Mario in my opinion, and probably my favorite games of all time. When the first Galaxy released on the Wii in 2007, it was jaw-dropping. Nintendo took Mario into space, introduced gravity-bending planetoids, and paired it with one of the most beautiful orchestral soundtracks ever. It felt epic, emotional, and endlessly creative. Now, I could go on about these games for so long, I could probably make hour-long documentaries about both these games. Controls are tight, the level design is ingenious, the presentation, especially in the first game, is just amazing. These games represent the absolute peak of 3D platforming. They're beautiful, ambitious, and timeless, and now they're coming back to the Switch, even though it's kind of overpriced for a simple remaster. While Odyssey might have gone bigger in terms of sandbox freedom, Galaxy hits a perfect balance of linear design and creativity. For me, when I started writing this, I knew for a fact this was going to be number 1. Obviously, it's only 2 games, but these 2 games are 2 of the best games of all time. And that's the list. Now, I went over 20 series, so you're not going to agree with everything. All I ask is that you try to respect others' opinions. This is not meant to be objective. This is not meant to say one series is definitively better than the other. This is just me saying I enjoyed these series this much. As you can probably tell, nostalgia is a big part of this. I'm not trying to be objective, as I said. Frankly, I think it would make a worse video if I was just going off consensus or just Metacritic scores for this, because I feel like it wouldn't have any personality. If my opinions upset you, I'm sorry that a random stranger liking games differently than you is a problem. But if you disagreed and don't have a problem with my opinion, I want to hear your opinion in the comments. Let me know your favorite Mario series. And be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, as it really helps me out, and consider becoming a channel member for a couple bucks a month, as well as joining my Discord. Thank you for watching Domainy, and I'll see you next time.